So, welcome everybody to this 32nd class in the Bhagavad Gita study series. So, in the 31 classes so far, we have completed the Prathama Shatkam, which is the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. So, as usual, we would like to acknowledge Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati for the traditional rendering of Vedanta, as was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. And in today's class, we will review chapters 1 and 6, the Prathama Shatkam. As usual, we'll say a small prayer to the lineage of teachers. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samaram Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Partyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Okay, so the Bhagavad Gita is organized as Shatkams. Shat means 6. Shatkam means a collection of 6. So here it's a collection of 6 chapters. So there are 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. So it's divided into collections of 6 chapters each. So the first 6 chapters are called Prathama Shatkam. That is, Prathama means first. Shatkam is a collection of 6. So the first collection of 6. Collection of 6 what? 6 chapters. Then Madhyama Shatkam is the middle 6 chapters, collection of the middle 6 chapters. Then Charama or Antima Shatkam is the last 6 chapters. And the way the Bhagavad Gita is organized is the first 6 chapters talk about Jiva Swarupam, that is the nature of the Jiva. And what is the Jiva? Jiva is the subtle body illuminated by the consciousness. So there is remember, you always have to remember the example of the pot. There are many pots. So our body is like a pot. Even in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the body is called Gatam. Gata Shuddhim Samacharet, purification of the pot. So the body is like an enclosure for different things. And what does it enclose? The pot encloses water. In this case, the pot is symbolically supposed to enclose the Sukshma Shariram. Sukshma Shariram consists of the mind, the prana, all those things, the indriyas, jnana indriya, karma indriya, the pancha prana, and the mana, and also the different portions of the mind, right? We've seen that before. So the water is like the Sukshma Shariram, and they're all inert. The Sukshma, water itself is inert. Now, when there is one sun, and that is the consciousness, one sun, one consciousness everywhere. But in the pots, think of it as half-filled pots, there is a reflection in each pot. And this reflection is the reflected consciousness, Chit Abhasa, okay? Or it's also called Chit Chaya. So this is the one that is illuminating all of us. And the question that people have asked so far is, how come if it's the same consciousness illuminating everybody, why is everybody different? Why are some people bad, evil, some people good? It is the nature of the reflecting medium. So if the reflecting, if the water, there's ripples and all that, the reflection is not good. So it's the nature of the reflecting medium. Another way to look at it as a screen. If there's a screen, there's light reflected. Then if the screen is dark or torn, then the right reflected is not good. So it is the nature of the reflecting medium. Otherwise, it's the same consciousness that illuminates everything. Okay, that is so nature of the jiva. That is the main topic of the Prathama Shatkam. And then the second point of comparison is what type of sadhana is performed. In the Prathama Shatkam, it is karma yoga. And we saw what is karma yoga. Karma yoga is doing actions just for the sake of action. And why should we do this? Because the evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha agayu indriya ramaha mogam partha sajivati. The wheel of motion that has been set from the time of creation It means you have to do your duty. Everybody has to do your duty. Even Bhagavan says, I have name partasi kartavyam trishloke kinchana. I have nothing to do in the three worlds, yet I do my duty, because otherwise people will copy me and there will be confusion in the world. So, and the wise person especially, they should be an example. This is the duty. So do your duty without uh, clinging for the results. This is karma yoga. Okay, that's in a nutshell, that is karma yoga. Then the third point of comparison, so you have a bag of, see, the sadhana, this karma yoga, there's a bag of tools, right? What is the main tool you use? And the main tool is individual effort, prayatna, putting effort. So the third point of comparison is the individual effort. So, and also this three shatkams, the content is derived from the word tat tvam asi, that you are. Tat is that, tvam is you, asi means are. Or you can rearrange as tvam, you that are. Tam, tvam, tat, asi. So the first one focuses on tvam, second on tat. Tat means this Ishvara, or whatever you call God, whatever you call. Then asi means is. So it talks about equality. This is called a Mahavakyam, a great equation. So Swamiji says, when you ever say 5 is equal to 5, you never say 5 is equal. Two obvious things you don't compare. And some things two which are not too obvious, do you ever say 1 is equal to 100? No, we don't say. But you can say 5 plus 2 is equal to um, 11 minus 4. The two look different. 5 plus 2 is 7, 11 minus 4 is 7. The two are different, seemingly different, but they are equal. This is called an equation, right? So when you compare seemingly different things, but they are equal, that is when an equation comes in. What are the two seemingly different things? The jiva and the paramatma. Jivatma, paramatma. What's the difference? It's the same consciousness. See, look at the statement. You are God. This is what it says, literally. So but we are not God. We can't even lift a table. How can we lift the universe? Bhagavan, in just one finger, he's lifting a mountain. Why is that? Because the reflecting medium is small and jagged, whereas for Bhagavan, the reflecting medium is the entire universe, the consciousness. It's the same consciousness that is reflected on the pot. But because the pot is small, the reflecting medium is not great, the effect is also, the light is also less. That's the only difference, but it's the same thing. You are that. That's your true nature. Once you know that, there's no rebirth. Is it understood to everybody? Then in the middle Shatkam, we will see the overview in the next class. It's Ishvara Swarupam, nature of God. What is God is defined. Then what is the um, sadhana to achieve that? Ishvara Dhyanam, meditation on God. And finally, of the toolkit, what's the main toolkit you use? It is not really a tool, but you are depending on Ishvara Anugraha. What it means is that you sometimes you have to put in effort, but your effort alone is not going to take you all the way. You need what is called divine intervention. Now, you may say, what is divine intervention and all that? Divine intervention is just the reduction of our baggage of negative karma through total surrender. So that is called divine. So in the 12th chapter, it'll very clearly be outlined. The Bhakti, 12th chapter is called Bhakti Yoga. So that is what Ishvara Anugraha, grace of God, is talked about. And in the 12th chapter, because Vedanta is like science, people will say, oh, this is science. What bhakti doesn't quite fit into science? Then Bhagavan will say, the greatest bhakti is the jnani. Jnani tvatmaiva me matam. Jnani is just like my own self. The one who realizes, that person is the greatest bhakta. And in the last 6 chapters, Jivatma, Paramatma, Swarupa Aikyam. That is the oneness of Jivatma and Paramatma. And the main Sadhana is Jnana Yoga, study of scriptures. And what is the main tool you use for Jnana Yoga? Bhagavan in 16th and 17th chapters exclusively talks about Satguna or values to purify the mind. Without, if the mind is not pure, it is not suitable for knowledge. Okay, is that clear? So there are 6 chapters. The first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. We kind of skipped it because the most of the chapter is about people blowing their own trumpets, their horns, Shankam, the conch, right? Krishna blows, then Vrikodara, Bhishma, then Yudhishthira. It talks about different people in the armies. And then finally, Arjuna starts complaining. Arjuna complains and he says, Arjuna uvacha drishtve mam swajanam Krishna yuyutsum samupastitam sidanti mama ghatrani mukham cha parishusyati. O Krishna, seeing my own kinsmen arrayed for battle, my limbs are giving away, my mouth is drying up, and then he'll say, my Gandiva, my great bow is falling from my hands. So it's all about the general introduction. Arjuna starts complaining and he continues to complain into the second chapter. So that's what we picked up. It's called, second chapter is called Sankhya Yoga, highest knowledge about the difference between the body and the jiva that lives. So Sankhya Yoga is the second chapter. Then Bhagavan goes on to Karma Yoga. So the second chapter is a preview of the entire Bhagavad Gita. And finally, in the 18th chapter, he concludes. In between, from 3 to 17, is elaboration of all that is said in the second. Okay? So, third chapter then becomes Karma Yoga. Fourth chapter is Jnana Karma Sannyasa, renunciation of actions through knowledge, that you are not the one acting, but it is the gunas, the mind-body complex, that is causing action, whereas you are the consciousness. That's the only conscious principle. Everything else is inert. So that is fourth chapter is Jnana Karma Sannyasa. Then fifth chapter is called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. The reason it's called Karma Sannyasa is just because Sannyasam Karmanam Krishna Punartyogam Cha Samshasi. Arjuna asks a question, so it's called Karma Sannyasa Yoga. It is a summary of 2, 3, 4. Fifth chapter is a summary of 2, 3. It's a short chapter, beautiful summary of 2, 3, 4 with emphasis on Jnana Yoga. And then sixth chapter is on Jnana Yoga, on meditation, the importance of meditation. So, and Bhagavan talks about a yogi. That's what we saw recently. So this is the first Prathama Shatkam. Okay. Now we will review the second chapter. Any questions so far? Okay. The second chapter, we saw Arjuna continues to complain. Arjuna starts complaining in the first chapter towards the end. He says, Ratam Stapaya Keshava. So please keep the chariot in between the two armies so I can have a look at both armies, the people on both sides. And on seeing his grandfather Bhishma and his teacher Drona, his knees start trembling, because even the thought of that they will be separated from him, it's not like he's a coward. Single-handedly, he had vanquished all of them. He is not a coward, but his attachment to his grandfather and teacher is so high that he is unable to bear even the thought of them dying. So he starts complaining. The first portion is Arjuna's despondency, and finally he says, I surrender. There's nobody like you who can advise me. I completely surrender. And that is when Krishna starts talking. So the most important thing you know about this is that Krishna does not go and volunteer this knowledge to anybody. He is, the first chapter, Krishna doesn't speak a single word. And it's only when Arjuna completely surrenders, Shishyasteham Shadi Mam Tvam Prapannam. So and he completely accept me as my disciple. Shadi, teach me, he says. So then Bhagavan from 11 through 25 is the most important portion of the Bhagavad Gita. So I've told multiple times. So as Swamiji always says, the Bhagavad Gita, some people think, oh, it is a book on values. Oh, it's a book on devotion to God. All that. No, it's actually a book on Atma Vidya. Bhagavan talks about the nature of the Atma. That is the main topic of the Bhagavad Gita. This is condensed in 11 through 25. Shlokas 11 through 25. Atma Jnanam portion of the Jnana Yoga. And then rest of Jnana Yoga he covers in 26 through 39. It is using different tactics to motivate him to fight. People will laugh at you. If you think the body as born and dying, then this is a never-ending cycle. Why are you even worried about death? Then but Arjuna doesn't understand this idea of Atma is something that he cannot comprehend. It's too going overhead for him. They call overhead transmission. That's what's happening. Then Bhagavan talks about Karma Yoga. He talks about this Vyavasaya Atmika. One pointed, this person who knows exactly what he wants, no confusion. And that catches Arjuna's interest. Arjuna calls this Vyavasayatmika Sthita Prajna. He gives his name, coins the name Sthita Prajna Syaka Bhasha Samadhistasya Keshava Sthitadi Kim Prabhasheta Kimasita Prajeta Kim. How does this person act? What's the definition of this person of steady wisdom? And then he goes on to the final portion is Sthita Prajna. So that is the second chapter. So in the second chapter, as we saw, Arjuna laments. See his head, he's keeping his hands on his head here in the picture. Guru nahatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum vaiksham api haloke hatva takamanstu guru nihaiva bhunjiya bhogan rudira pradiktan. O most noble one, Mahanubhavan, it would be better to live in this world by begging. Shreyo Bhoktum, Bhaiksham api ihaloke, Bhaiksham, like alms, begging for alms, than to enjoy life by killing these noble elders who are my teachers. If we kill them, the wealth and pleasures we enjoy will be tainted with their blood. Rudira Pratiktan. Punjiya Bhogan, what the pleasures we enjoy will be tainted with their blood. This is what he's saying. And then, Karpanya doshopahata svabhavaha pritchami tvam dharma sammuda cheta yachreyasya nishchitan bruhitan me shishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam. With my nature overcome by the taint of pity and my mind confused about my duty, I ask thee, which may be better? Please tell me that definitively. Which may be better means to fight or to flee. Do instruct me who have taken refuge in you as thy disciple. Shishyaste aham, I am your disciple. Shadi mam, teach me tvam prapannam, definitively. And Bhagavan starts talking about the nature of the consciousness. Atma, the 5 properties of the Atma. Atma aprameyaha, that which cannot be comprehended. No, it's beyond the senses. It is avinashi, it's eternal and indestructible. It is sarvagataha, it's all pervading in the universe. It is nirvikaraha, it never undergoes change, it's constant. It is akarta and abhokta. It is a non-doer of actions. It's like electricity illuminating a fan and a bulb. Same electricity goes through a bulb and a fan. What does it do to the bulb? Bulb lights, fan rotates. Like that, depending on the gunas of a person, people act differently. And the gunas are determined by the karma. Okay? But there is a free will. You can't say, oh, I can do that. The consciousness provides a free will to change the gunas. Next, The 13 shlokas will illustrate these properties. It's an analogy of a wave. A wave is born and it vanishes. However, before birth and after vanishing, it remains as water. Similarly, Atma exists before birth and after death. Modern day analogy is electricity. Electricity is all pervading in the medium. Atma is all pervading in space. It is Brahman. Electricity, it's like we've seen the example of inner space, outer space. Space within a home is inner space, space outside, and including the universe is outer space. Electricity enlivens when there's a suitable object, fan, computer, light bulb, right? You just put electricity on a, like take two wires, put it on a ground one and put it on a wooden object, nothing will come out of it. Body is like the bulb, mind is like the filament, consciousness is like the electricity. Okay. Then Bhagavan goes into the Karma Yoga section of chapter 2. He just first glorifies Karma Yoga. Neha Bikramana Shosti Pratyavayo na Vidyate Swalpamapyasya Dharmasya Trayate Mahato Bhayat. Here, there's no counter production of actions. If you do Karma Yoga, you won't get counter results. There is no loss of effort. Every little bit you put counts. Swalpamapi asya dharmasi. Even a little bit of this will save you from great fear. Trayate mahato bhaya. And then Bhagavan says, he says, who cannot become karma yogis? Difference between karmi, one who just acts, and karma yogi, one who acts with the big picture in mind. Karma yogi, without attachment to the results. Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitaha vedavadarata partha nanyatasti dhivadinaha kamatmana swargapara janma karma phalapradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishwarya gatim prati. Bhagavan mocks those people who just repeat the Vedas so that they can go to heavens. You see, Kamatmanaha Swargapara, thinking that the heavens are the greatest, they do these rituals only without understanding the nature of the consciousness. And he mocks them. He says they are karmis. They will get some benefits, but they won't get final moksha. It's like a revolving door in the airport. You see, you go in and come out. It's inside nice and air conditioned. Outside, let's say you're in Phoenix, it's a blistering 114 degrees centigrade. You're outside, you're burning. Then you go inside for some time, and then you come. So this is like the samsara cycle. Then Bhagavan talks about the qualities of a karma yogi and the right attitude for karma yoga. And he gives two definitions of yoga here. Okay. And then finally he says, when the mind is made ready to receive knowledge through yoga, what happens? So this is the karma yoga section of chapter 2. And remember, this is a very important point. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, both are needed. It's not like they're two parallel paths. It's like elementary school. Karma yoga is purification of the mind. So it's fit to receive jnana yoga, the knowledge. Without elementary school, you can't go to high school. It's only from high school you graduate. Moksha, liberation, is only from high school, right? Or from jnana yoga. Understood, everybody? So we've talked about it enough. So we're doing a recap only. Then Bhagavan says, this is like a very important shloka, condensation of karma yoga. Karmanyevadikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma karpa palaheturbuhu ma te sangostva karpani. Your choice is in the action only, not in its results, over which you have limited control. Let not the fruits of action be the motive or the cause for doing the action. Do not get attached to inaction. Don't think just because you are not interested in the fruits, don't stop doing it. Because we're going to see, evam pravartitam chakram, this wheel that has been set in motion, if you don't follow, you are agahayur indriyaramaha mogam, you are living in delusion. You're a thief because you're not contributing and you're taking something. Bhagavan says that. And we saw the definitions of yoga. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Remaining steadfast in yoga, perform actions, abandoning attachment or dhananjaya, remaining the same in success and failure alike. Evenness of mind is called yoga. And the second definition is karmanyevadhikaraste mahapaleshu kadachana ma karma pala heturbuhu ma te sangostva karmani. Don't get you have right only to the actions, not to the palesh, na ma paleshu kadachana, never to the fruits of action. Ma karma pala heturbuhu ma te sangostva karmani. Don't get attached to the fruits, and don't get attached to inaction. So same thing here, Bhagavan is saying again and again. And Bhagavan, he says, Dhurena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanam anvicha kripana pala hetavaha. So he uses the term buddhi yoga. It just means yoga with the right attitude or right understanding. It should not be confused with jnana yoga. So he says, take refuge in yoga. Just doing actions is far inferior compared to doing actions with the right understanding why you're doing it. Okay. So, summary so far, Krishna started teaching only after Arjuna requests and surrenders. Krishna presents the ultimate knowledge, Atma Vidya. Krishna knows that Arjuna's mind is not ready for assimilating this knowledge because Arjuna is blinking. Krishna therefore talks about Karma Yoga, which when done, the mind becomes steady and fully ready to assimilate this knowledge. Arjuna becomes curious, wants to know more about this person who has attained a steady mind. Arjuna coins the term Sthita Prajna. And then he asks, what is the definition of a Sthita Prajna? Bhagavan says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atman yevatmana tushtaha sthita prajnastadochyate. When a person gives up desires as they appear in the mind, and when they are satisfied with one's self, with the self alone, that is when they are satisfied with the Atma, with knowing that I am the Atma, that person is known as a person of ascertained wisdom, steady wisdom. So this person knows that I am not the body or the mind, because I can see the thoughts in the mind. So I am something other than the mind. If something is an object, then it's not the subject. I am different from it. This is what in meditation you can see the thoughts coming in the mind. You can be a sakshi, a witness to the thoughts. So you are not the mind. And Bhagavan says, when this is known, and they're therefore able to give up the desires as they come, the craving desires, then, and when they're satisfied with the knowledge that they are the Atma, that person is a Sthita Prajna. And finally, the beautiful shloka, Aputyamana pratishtam samutramapa pravishanti yatvat tatvat kamayam pravishanti sarve sashanti mapnoti na kama kami. Just as the ocean remains full and in stillness, even when the rivers enter from all sides like that, the desires merge into them of steady wisdom. They are the ones who attain peace, not the desire of desirers, desirer of desires. Kama kami, one who not only desires, but he desires. See, that is the kama kami, Bhagavan says. Okay, that is second chapter. Now, Bhagavan is going to elaborate. So remember, from 3 and 4 are elaboration, and 5th is like a mini conclusion. And in 18th chapter, he gives a grand conclusion. So delineation of chapter 3. Remember, every time this Arjuna wants to flee, become a sannyasi. So this thing about life predominant, a sannyasa versus a grihastha lifestyle comes in again. We've seen enough of that, so we won't go into that. The first 11 shlokas are about that lifestyle. Sannyasa versus grihastha. So A life predominant in Karma Yoga is a Grihastha, a life predominant in Jnana Yoga is a sannyasa lifestyle, sannyasis. Slokas 8 to 19 gives the detailed description of Karma Yoga. It is an expansion of 2.47 and 2.48. Don't get attached to action, all that. The karmanyevadikaraste paleshu kadachana ma karma palahetur ma te sango swakarmani. Then 20 to 29 is duties of a jnani. A person, even a wise person, has to act. A wise person has nothing to do, but they act as a role model to the society. Then shlokas 30 to 35, summary and significance of karma yoga. And finally, it's a side topic. Arjuna asks, why do people commit sin? Even though nobody wants to hurt others or commit sin, but something in them makes them commit sin. Okay, अथ केन प्रयुक्तोऽयं पापं चरति पूरुषः अनिच्छन्नपि वार्ष्णेय बलादिव नियोजितः. Anichan, they don't desire that, but the force is so strong. Baladiva niyojitah, that compels the forces and compels them to commit sin. Atakena prayukto yukto, they're pushed. I am papam charity. Why are people forced to commit sin even though they don't want? And Bhagavan says, it is kama esha krodha esha rajo guna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma viddena miha vairinam. Kama and krodha, this lust and this anger, coming from where? Rajoguna samudbhavam, from the rajoguna in us. And finally, in the 6th chapter, he says, Upaiti shanta rajasa, meditation reduces the rajoguna, increases sattva. So that's what forces a person to commit sin. And the main karma yoga portion of this, he says, Sahayajna praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyatvam yesha vostvishta kamaduk. In the beginning, the creator Brahma, having created human beings along with yajna. So what is yajna? We saw that yajna is offering something for it's like a worship for something higher, keeping the welfare of others in mind. And you can have some desires too. So you want something fulfilled, but you're doing it in a way so that it benefits the society as a whole. That is yajna, and we're going to see different types of yajnas. Jnana yajna, dhana yajna, giving alms to people, poor people. So in the beginning, human beings were not created just like that. They were created together with yajna, so that it's a self-sustaining cycle. Otherwise, if you just take, you'll deplete. So you take and give. Okay, that is the essence of karma yoga. By this yajna, may you multiply. May this yajna being your wish-fulfilling kamadenu cow. And Bhagavan then says, Ishtan bhogan hivo deva dhasyante yajna bhavita taitatana pradhayepyah yo bhunkte stena eva saha. So Ishtan bhogan hivo deva, the devas are the deities of different, representing different forces of nature, like sun, rain, all that. When you take care of nature, nature propitiates you. Tairdattan apradayebhyah yobhunte stena eva saha. One who doesn't follow that, who just takes and depletes, is a thief, Bhagavan says. Okay. Why perform action with a certain attitude? That is karma yoga. Actions with the right attitude alone can purify the mind. Purified mind can alone attain knowledge. Wise person alone can be free from suffering and attain liberation. Once the mind is purified for receiving knowledge, one can do less actions for purification and do more contemplation. Arurukshormuner karmakaranam yoga rudasya tasyaiva shamakaranam. In 6th chapter, he says, for the initial mind, actions are important. Once the mind has become steady, shamaha, calmness in meditation, is more important. Even the basic actions required for maintaining the body is not possible if you don't act. And there's nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karma krita karyate hyavashak karma sarva prakriti jair kunai. No one can indeed, even for a second, remain without performing actions. Everyone is helplessly made to perform actions by gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas born of prakriti. Niyatam kuru karma tvam karma chayokya karmanaha sharira yatra pichate na prasiddhyeta karmanaha. Perform obligatory actions, for action is far superior to inaction. Even the maintenance of the body is not possible for you from inaction. Why is he saying all this? Because Arjuna wants to flee the battlefield, go sit somewhere as a sannyasi, renounce everything, and just contemplate. He says, you can't, even for a second, you can't. You have so much rajas in you, it is impossible for you to sit like that. So you can't escape a situation. That's the main aim. So just when you do actions for the sake of it, with a mind that is steadied, right, without looking for the fruits, that is the best way to do an action. And then he describes the duties of a jnani, acting as a role model to the society. And finally, uh, the summary gives a summary and significance of the karma yoga and why people commit sin. Yat yat acharati shreshtaha tat tat evetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastat anuvartate. Yat yat acharati shreshtaha, in whatever way shreshtaha, the ones who are superior, or the ones who are accomplished, they, whatever way they behave, tattat tattat eve taro janah, others just copy. People have herd mentality. Sayat pramanam kurte, whatever they set as a standard, lokastat anuvartate, people just follow. Then sakta karmanya vidvanstaha yata kurpanti bharata kuryat vidvanstata saktaha chikirshur loka sangraham. So don't try to push others to do things. Sakta karman avidvanstaha. So one who's not knowledgeable, just like they're doing something messy, um, they just let them do that. Kuryat vidvans tata saktaha. The vidvan, the one who's accomplished, who's knowledgeable, should just do for loka sangraham, for the welfare of the world. And by doing things, others will follow. Don't go push them and tell them do that. You just be an example. He says, na buddhi bhedam chanayet ajnanam karma sanginam. Buddhi bhed, you will only cause buddhi bheda, confusion. To whom? Agnya, the people who are not ajnana, who are not knowledgeable. Karma sanginam, who are attached to the results, to the karma, to the fruits of the actions. Joshayet sarva karmani, do it with your stuff with enthusiasm. Vidvan yukta samacharan, just, and others will follow. Vidvan yukta samacharan, yoked in the action with 100%, just do it. So that is the main content of karma yoga. So is karma yoga understood, everybody? Then Bhagavan goes to what is called jnana karma sannyasa. So remember, Arjuna wants to flee the battlefield, become a sannyasa, wear a saffron robe. These are all external sannyasa. Then Bhagavan talks that is not the real sannyasa. The true sannyasa is renunciation of the actions through knowledge. So the actions are performed by the gunas. There's a certain guna, but you are the witness consciousness. You are karta dabhokta. You don't do anything. When electricity passes through the fan rotates, of course, slowly, using this, because of this reflected consciousness, there is knowledge happening. You can change the gunas, you can rewind the coils to do something else, you can make the fan go in the opposite direction, you can do all kinds of things, right? So jnana karma sannyasa is renouncing actions through the knowledge that I am untouched, when even though I am interacting with the world. That is jnana karma sannyasa, very important topic. In the first portion of this, the Bhagavan talks about avatara. It's just because Arjuna asks a question. Krishna says, "I've taught this long time ago to son and to so many people." Then Arjuna gets confused. You were just born 89 years ago. He was already 89 at the time. You're new. Those people were born thousands of years ago. How can you say that you have taught them? And then Bhagavan talks about avatara. Then jnana karma sannyasa, inner renunciation of actions through knowledge. That's the main topic of this chapter. And finally, he talks about jnana sadhana and palani. He talks about various yajnas, means for gaining knowledge and its fruits. So here, one of the important shlokas, it's a Granthi shloka. Karmanya karmaya pashyet akarmani cha karmayaha sabhuddhiman manusyeshu sayukta kritsna karma krita. They who see inaction of the self in action of the body, and who see the potential action in the seeming inaction of the body, because the mind is still thinking. Potential action, because anytime the body can act, because the mind is on the verge of action. These people are the wise among humans. That person is the yogi. That person, kritsna karma kritas, that person has accomplished everything that's to be done. Inaction in action. Atma is like the electricity. It enlivens but does not cause action. Fan rotates because of electricity. Bulb glows because of electricity. Many bulbs, but the electricity flowing is one. Many fans, but the electricity flowing is one. Fan rotates because of the electricity, the potential difference. Another example of inaction in action. यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं वायुः महान् तथा सर्पाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानि उपधारय. The Atma is because Atma is aprameya, cannot be comprehended. So throughout the Bhagavad Gita, so many analogies are given by Bhagavan. Here, it's Atma is compared to the consciousness is compared to the space. Space accommodates everything, even the turbulent wind. Just as the mighty wind going everywhere rests in space, so all beings rest inside me. And so all violent actions take place, but space, there's no action in the space. It just holds everything. And moving fast in a dark room with the light shining, it looks like the light is moving. No, but it's just the hand that is moving. Action in inaction. So even when the body is still, there are thoughts in the mind. Thoughts are the basis for action. The mind body complex is never free from actions. Mind is violently changing. Accept action at the anatma level, understand actionless permanent rest at the atma level. This is how a wise person, when appearing busy to the external world, is tranquil inside. So, tyaktva karma phala sangam nityatrupto nirashrayah karmanya vipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti saha. Giving up attachment to the fruits of actions, being ever content and not dependent on anything, even when fully engaged in action, that person does not do anything. So Finally, the third portion, Jnana Sadhana and Palani, Bhagavan gives us means for gaining this knowledge and the fruits of this knowledge. Jnana Sadhana and Mahima is covered in 25 to 34. The rest cover the Palam, means for gaining this knowledge. So Krishna enlists 12 sadhanas, which he calls yajna. Yajna means, as we said, is worship or with sacrifice of lower comforts performed for a higher purpose, greater good, while also satisfying one's legitimate desires. That is called yajna. Difference between yoga and yajna is very similar. So it talks about jnana yajna, tapo yajna. It's like tapas, yoga. All these are like yoga too. Only difference: yoga is done for spiritual purification. Yajna is also done to satisfy one's desires. Yajna means offering something. It's into the fire of worship. Root is edge to worship. Tapas means heat. Yajna symbolizes destruction of maladies of the mind and the body using the heat, tapas of the fire of knowledge and yoga practice respectively. So that's the fourth chapter. And as I said, the fifth chapter is a short summary of 2, 3, 4 with emphasis on jnana yoga. And then grand summary in the 18th. Because these 2, 3, 4 are so important, Bhagavan gives a mini summary here. And distribution of topics, the delineation of chapter 5, Nishtadvayam, again and again, Arjuna keeps asking about the sannyasa lifestyle and grihastha lifestyle. He keeps getting confused, keeps asking the same question, and Bhagavan is again and again explaining. Then that's the first 6 shlokas. Sadhanatvayam, the 2 types of spiritual practice, karma yoga and jnana yoga. See, this is the summary. 7 to 12 is karma yoga, and then 13 through 21 is jnana yoga. Then he talks about jnana sadhana and phalam, preparation for the highest benefit of knowledge. He's summarizing, and he gives an introduction to meditation in the last 2 shlokas. That's the topic of the 6th chapter. So here we saw some very, very beautiful and important shlokas. So one is about the Atma as Akarta and Abhokta. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit pashyan shrunvan sprishan jikran ashnan kachan swapan swashan pralapan visrujan grinnan unmishan nimishannapi indriyanindriyateshu vartanta iti dharayan. The wise person, knowing that they are not doing anything, that is the naiva kinchit karomi iti. I'm not doing anything. Yuktaha, one who's yoked in knowledge, the yogi, manyeta tattvavitu, who's tattvavitu, who knows the knowledge of the nature of the self. Manyeta, things, what do they think? Pashyan, seeing, shrinvan, hearing, and all things. Pralapan, Visrajan, Grinnan, Unmishan, opening and closing the eyes when lying on the bed. They know that I am not doing this. It's the mind-body complex doing this. I am still and stationary. Indriyani, indriyarteshu, the senses are interacting with the sense objects. Vartanta iti dharayan. So this is how the wise think. They know that the mind-body complex is interacting, but I, the consciousness, am unaffected. That's very powerful, liberating feeling. Then sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navatvare pure dehi naiva kurpanna karayan. Renouncing all actions mentally with knowledge, the happy, self-controlled person identifies with the embodied one, the Atma, which rests in the nine-gated city. Remember the nine orifices, the seven in the head: two ears, two eyes, two nostrils, the mouth, and then the excretory organ and the organ of reproduction. So nine gates. This body is called the nine-gated city. This Atma, embodied, the Jiva, here it refers to the Jiva, embodied one, sits happily in this nine-gated city. What is Jiva? It is a Sukshma Shariram, the mind, body, all that, powered by the reflected consciousness. It neither acting nor causing others to act. Atma, electricity, just does its job. It does not say, okay, bulb, I want you to rotate like a fan. It doesn't do that. Okay, so that is and the electricity is the real thing that is powering. And like that, you are the consciousness. You are witnessing everything, even your own mind. And finally, we saw Jnana Yoga. How do you get to get this knowledge? Your mind has to be steady, and that is through meditation. This is a very important topic for yogis, especially. Bhagavan divides this. There's 6 portions to this, and Bhagavan hops between this, so their shlokas are not in consecutive order according to the topic. First, he talks about Bahiranga Sadhanani, general disciplines observed daily. Then Bhagavan talks about Vishesha Sadhanani, specific disciplines observed before meditation. Then Bhagavan talks about Dhyana Swarupam, the nature of meditation. Bhagavan then talks about Dhyana Palam, the fruits of meditation. Then Dhyana Pratibandha Parihara, obstacles to meditation and remedies. Finally, he talks about Yoga Prashta, the destiny of a yogi who does not succeed in this lifetime. Sukham Atyantikam Yattat बुद्धिग्राह्यमतीन्द्रियं वेत्ति यत्र न चैवायं स्थितश्चलति तत्त्वतः. So Bhagavan knows that the mind wants to go after, the senses want to go after sense objects, always pleasure and avoid suffering. Desire and aversion, right? And Bhagavan talks about this deep sense of internal bliss that comes from meditation. Sukham atyantikam yattatu. One should know that infinite bliss, buddhigrahim atindriyam, which is beyond the senses and grasped only by the intellect. Vetti yatra na chaivayam stitaha chalati tattvataha. Wherein established, they do not move from their true nature. So instead of going outside to find, he talks about meditation, bliss. They call it hlada, beyond the senses, outwardly bliss, which comes from yoga practice, asana, meditation, all that, and pranayama. Then Bhagavan talks about the greatest yogi. Who's the greatest yogi? Atmaupam kena sarvatra samam pashyati yorjuna sukham payadi badhukam sayogi paramo mataha. Remember all these spots? What the reflection is, what still the sun. If the water is rippling, water is a little dirty, the reflection is a little different, right? But it's the same thing that's reflected. So by which likeness of the self, one who sees the same everywhere in all beings, who's the same in pleasure as well as pain, that yogi I regard to be the highest yogi. And finally, he talks about the yoga prashta. I am putting all this effort into yoga, but let's say something happens to me. I fall into difficult times. I have to take care of children, all that. I'm not able to meditate as much. What is my fate? I've spent all this time to do asana practice or meditation, and now I'm not able to. So I've not succeeded in the material world. I've not succeeded in the spiritual world. What is my what's the fate of that person? Bhagavan says, Patanaiveha namutra vinashastasya vidyate nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. O Partha, not verily here, not in the next world is there destruction of them. No one verily who does good acts of yoga will end up in a bad state. Oh, my son, he says, Tata, oh, my child, my son, nobody who does good acts of Kalyana Krit here means good acts, which means yoga basically, will end up in a bad state. Durgatim, bad state. Okay. So that concludes the Prathama Shatkam. And with this, I will switch off the recording.